So, hello. We are in the 7th month and we are past the halfway mark in our apprenticeship. For the remaining months, each month I'm going to post a short video on a topic that is sort of dangling and that I don't want to assign readings for, but that I just want to talk to you about. These will be different kinds of topics, and most of them will be very, very practical, aimed at your setting up a spiritual direction practice. So, I'd like to begin with this session, and the topic for this session is physical contact. I was at a gathering of spiritual directors, and there were about 150 people. It was local. It was here in Indianapolis. And the speaker was talking about how she always, as part of her spiritual direction practice, gave a hug to everybody at the end. I really felt and told her later that I thought that was not a good practice, that it opens her up to different kinds of misunderstandings, and that not everybody really wants or needs a hug. She didn't get what I was saying, and we both went our separate ways. So, in this little short video, I want to explain to you my thinking. I think that you're by yourself with another person, and there's not a third person around. You're not in a group, and creating an atmosphere of safety for people is very important. We can't know the entire history of a person when they walk in. And some people have had very bad experiences, maybe, with hugs or with touch. There's good touch, there's bad touch, and there's touch that people just don't want by the way they are wired. So my suggestion is that you refrain from any kind of physical touch, if possible. Nowadays, it's after COVID, it's become more acceptable for people not to offer handshakes. And so that is no longer just part of the landscape, not just between males, but handshakes of any kind. So that can be probably not done unless the other person extends their hand. And in that case, it would be rude not to offer the handshake. Also, there's a matter of how much of a hug, if someone if a client initiates a hug, how much of a hug are you going to give? There are hugs and there are hugs. There are hugs that end up being clingy or overly intense. So my suggestion is, again, you don't initiate a hug, but if your client initiates a hug, that you keep that hug at just exactly the right level for the circumstance. I want to tell you another story that made me think about this. Some years ago, I had a client who was a straight male who seemed not always at home being in spiritual direction with a gay male. And I forgot it because as time went by, it seemed to be working. One day, then he asked for prayer at the end, and what I did was I just said, "Well, I just offered my hand," and as we prayed over a topic that was sensitive to him, I held his hand. I think appropriately. But after that prayer session, he never came back. And I came to think that it was probably because he was uncomfortable in that setting holding the hand of a gay male. So there are all sorts of ways in which this can come back to haunt us. Yeah, there are all sorts of ways this can come back to be uncomfortable. I'd like you to think about also the constant possibility of people misinterpreting things as some kind of sexual harassment. And this can be between men and men, between men and women, between women and women, between old and young. And so just keep very, very much in mind that probably the best policy is the no-touch policy. You will create a more professional setting if you're able to do this. So there's some comments. It took me about 6 minutes. You're welcome to give me your feedback. It's just a heads up on something that I think is worth talking about. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Bye now.